Passion is also seen in the things you are willing to go through for a particular thing. A quote by Anesu Malisa from episode 19 of season 1. And in this chat, I want to talk to us about the importance of passion. So, just a story on my side. I'm remembering when I was on the journey of getting married. So this is the year 2021. My wife and I had been dating for a year, and I proposed when we were celebrating our 1-year dating anniversary. And so now we're building towards, getting married. And as you know, for our people, lobola is a thing. And so figuring that out. And I remember what a challenge, what a journey it was. My goodness. You're probably going to hear this and think like this guy was crazy. But hear me around this one. I remember my wife, we were now married. We were now married in that first year of marriage. And we were in our apartment, the first apartment we were staying in. And we were just, I think she was folding the laundry. I was sitting with her, in our bedroom. And she looked at me and she was like, "Babe, I'm proud of you." I was like, okay. Why? And she was like, "You saw this girl and you're like, you're going to marry her, and you did it." And for the first time, I sat and thought about it and realized what a crazy journey it was. How much of lows there were in that season, the challenges that we faced. At times we felt like, we're not going to get married in the timeline we thought. It's actually going to take longer because certain things weren't aligning. They weren't aligning from a financial perspective. At times, like, families weren't in agreement. And so it was so challenging. And it was for the first time I was actually thinking about it. And so just to give you a bit of a picture of it, I decided I'm going to get married when I was an intern. I was a finance intern. I had just graduated in July of 2021. I had just graduated and I had started an internship at a global company June. So a month before graduating, I started a finance internship, which was going to be for 2 years. I was going to do this program, right? I was earning a stipend. Very low. It was less than 10,000 Rand, guys. Right? This was 2021. My wife at that time, she was doing her undergrad degree, right, in her first year, and she was a part-time coach at a private school. And we decided we we're going to get married. How great. Young love. So we went about the journey, and I think about it, I'm like, it can only be God and the hand of God. Because the families, our parents, that is our immediate family, our parents, they were happy. They gave us their blessing. And we're now going through the process. And I'm like trying to get together imali for ilobola. We need to get that done as well. That one needs to get done. Like without that, there's no marriage. We are playing games, And I get some money together. Get my my team of negotiators. They go there, to kick things off. And basically they were like, "Yeah, we see what you've brought, but we're going to need more before you get married. This is not enough," right? So I was like, now I need to kind of get more money. That time we had a timeline. I think at that time we wanted to get married in November. And spoiler alert, we ended up getting married in December, which was just a blessing in and of itself, because at times it felt like it's not going to happen that year. We're going to wait another year. But it had so many challenges. But in all of that, man, we had this can-do spirit. We were convinced we're going to get married. We're going to get to the finish line. Like there was this fire within that was like, we're gonna get to this. We were excited for it. We were building towards it. We were planning it. Like I remember we viewed apartments, and then we landed on the apartment that we then stayed in for 2 years after getting married. We loved it. We were happy. I put in an application. Listen, I put in an application. We were accepted. I paid a deposit, and then I let my landlord know, where I was staying at the time, that, hey, November's going to be my last month. I'm moving out on the 1st of December. All of this was done. We hadn't gotten the go-ahead that we're going to get married. I still need to get more money to bring for Ilobola so that they can finally allow us to actually get married. We haven't finalized anything else. We're not even sure yet that we're actually going to get married. We weren't even sure that they're actually going to allow us to get married on the dates that we wanted to get married. And so here I was, having put in a notice of cancellation with my current lease, and I've placed a deposit in a place that, if I'm on my own, I can't afford to stay there. So I'm riding on this marriage taking place so that we can move into that place, right? And long story short, we did get to the finish line. We did get married December 16th, 2021, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. And we moved into our new apartment. But the challenges we saw, I remember at some point, I remember even my mom at some point, I think it was after one of the first round of negotiations, saying, maybe we should take a beat. Let's just slow down. And I felt like, what do you mean? No. I want to get married, Like, I remember some people saying, are we not rushing into this? Let's just take a moment and to breathe, Let's just take a moment, let's regroup. Let's just think clearly about this, It really seemed like it wasn't going to happen. But I tell you now, I can't put it to words or really explain it fully, but there was this drive that we had, my wife and I, my fiance at the time, we were like, we're going to get married. We're building towards this thing. The hurdles came, the obstacles came. We were like, we're going to get through it. We're going to overcome it. We don't know how, but we're going to figure it out because we want to get married, and we're going to be married before the year's up. We are believing we're going to be married before the year's over. And by God's faithfulness, we were married by December of that year. And it's been a beautiful story ever since. And God is still writing the story to this very day. So, some takeaways for us. Before going into that, I want to quote a scripture, 2 verses actually. First one being in Psalm chapter 37, verse 4, which says, take delight in the Lord, and he will give you your heart's desires. And the second one is found in Proverbs chapter 10, verse 22, which says, the blessing of the Lord makes one rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. So a takeaway from this one, and it's just one, and that is, you did not give yourself the passion you have, and it's not without purpose. Honestly, that drive that you have, that passion, you're probably passionate for working with children. You may be studying psychology, you want to be a child psychologist, or you're studying education and you want to be a primary school teacher or something like that, and you just have such a passion. Listen, I know these people. There are people who love kids and have such a patience and a tenderness and just such a warmth and a gentleness with dealing with children, handling children, teaching little children. And there's some who just don't have the patience. I don't have the patience, but I've seen, for example, my sister-in-law, she teaches kids prep at a prep level. And my goodness, there have been times maybe we visit her at her workplace, and we've just sometimes had a front row seat of seeing her teach, and it's like, man, the patience she has, And so there's a passion, and I'm like, I really believe you don't give yourself that. I don't believe you pick your passions. I certainly didn't pick the passions that I have. It is God-given, and also it's not without purpose. And so when there's a passion for something, there's a purpose for it. You've been equipped with that passion, you've been equipped to be able to bring it to pass, to be able to go through certain storms, to be able to overcome certain obstacles, certain challenges, and to come out on the other side. I remember for myself, growing up as a kid, I think the last episode I was sharing about how I wasn't like my peers who wanted to be doctors and lawyers and knew the careers I want to take. I didn't know that, but I remember as a child, before I even could find language for what it was that I wanted, but I remember loving the idea of being my own boss. I would later on understand that the term for it is entrepreneurship. But I just loved it so much. I just loved it. I was like, yes, I want to manage my own time. I want to maybe build my own company. That's what I want to do. And I had such a drive for it. And then I remember I shared it in the previous episode where I had this feeling in my spirit that I couldn't shake, that I'm called to church leadership, to church ministry. And upon responding to that call, I remember praying and saying to God, I recognize that you're calling me to this area, and I surrender. I'm willing. However, you know this. I have this passion for business. So, Lord, I believe it's not for nothing. I don't believe you would have given me this passion and it wouldn't materialize into anything. And so somehow this also is going to go hand in hand, and it will come to fruition together with this call of church ministry. And may I say, right now, I am sitting in that. My wife and I are starting to build, our first business. And it's the early days, but we are already seeing that. We're seeing God's faithfulness in that. And I'm starting to see him really be faithful to this passion that I have of pioneering something, of building something that will outlast me, of really taking ownership of my day, being able to structure my day the way I want to, and not have a employer dictate that you're going to give me these hours and do that. Yes, I'm still employed, but I see that I'm building towards a place where I will be self-employed. It might not happen in the next month. It might not happen in the next year. Maybe it's 5 years down the line, but I know that's where I'm headed, and again, is to say that this passion, it wasn't of myself. I didn't pick it myself, and it has a purpose. The passion is linked to how I'm gifted. It's linked to what I'm equipped with. So I have what it takes to be able to fulfill this passion that I have, and to be able to go through the challenges that would come along my way, because this passion is going to be my fuel that is going to be able to drive me through and be able to get to whatever the ultimate goal is. So, principle in closing that I would like to share with you that I've applied in my life when it comes to this area of understanding passion, the importance of it. And that is, my passions shouldn't take away from me or those around me. Now, why am I saying this? Passions can be good, but also can be bad. I'm sure as I'm saying this, you could probably think of a couple of examples. Maybe there's an example that already comes to mind of an individual that you know, or maybe it's yourself at some point where you're like, hey, I was so passionate to the point where it was unhealthy. And that's what I want to speak into and what I want to challenge, that in as much as passions can be good, in as much as a passion is something you don't necessarily pick yourself, but it can be unhealthy. It can get to a place where it's destructive to yourself and also to those around you. And we need to be aware of this so that we can be intentional as well in how we outwork the gifts we've been given, in how we actually function in the passions that we have, in how we work the gift we have, work in our careers, build that business, whatever it is that we're building, building that career. We can be actually, we can be intentional how we go about it so that it doesn't lead to outcomes that we don't desire, so that it doesn't leave us in a place where we're unhealthy, so that it doesn't take away from the people around us. It doesn't affect others negatively, right? What do I mean by this? Maybe just to expand or even give an example on this. When it comes to the passions that you have, you could find yourself that you overwork yourself. I don't think that because you have a passion, you're going to overwork yourself to the point where your physical health or even your mental health comes into question. When it comes to people around you, your passion shouldn't now, because in the name of your passion, you shouldn't now be using other people as a stepping stone to get ahead. It shouldn't come at the cost of other individuals in terms of you succeeding, in terms of you building this great business, in terms of you becoming that great artist or that great sportsman or that great politician or whatever it is that you are building towards, that you are passionate about. So you shouldn't use individuals, but it should, I believe the passion that you have, it should feed you, but also, and I really believe this, and ultimately it should also feed others around you, not take away. And so we need to be careful in terms of how we enable these passions, and how they affect the different areas of our lives, and how they even affect us. It needs to be in a way that it remains healthy. Because when it's unhealthy, then it takes away. It's no longer something that we can look at and you can celebrate. Because now when you look at it, oh yes, you built this great company, but how many people were casualties along the way? Oh, look at that, you built such an amazing career, but you lost your marriage in the process, but you lost your kids in the process. And I believe that we should be very careful of those things, because it has that potential that, because you're so hungry, you're so driven, right? You're so driven in terms of building that company, in terms of being such a great athlete, in terms of being such a great creative, or, whatever it is that you're building. You're so driven in this area. You run the risk of neglecting the other areas of your life. You also run the risk of abusing and using individuals in order to get your way, in order to get ahead, in order to, reach that goal, accomplish that task, reach that milestone. And if we're not careful, we use individuals around us, we break relationships, we burn bridges, and we get to the point where it's hard to even recover those things. And what benefit is it to then reach the mountaintop, but you have no one around you to celebrate the mountaintop with? And so I want us to be mindful that as we pursue these passions, as we, give ourselves to the work that we're doing, give ourselves to that dream that we have, that we're mindful of how we go about it. And may I say in closing as well, I don't want to be naive and just speak in terms of the one extreme. In what I'm saying, I'm not saying that it's not going to cost you, that your passion and what you're building towards is not going to cost something. It is going to cost something, to be transparent. At the time of me recording this very episode, it is 2 minutes to 11 p.m. I have work tomorrow morning. My wife is working tomorrow morning. Our son is sleeping in the other room, right? It's taking away. I could have been sleeping. I could have been spending some time with my wife, some quality time together. So there's a cost that it's coming at me currently doing this, but I'm pursuing it. I'm passionate about it, but I'm having to be mindful as well as what's the limit. How much am I willing to sacrifice? How much am I willing to give? And it's us needing to be mindful of that it mustn't come. There are things that I know is not going to get in the way, that this passion and whatever I'm building is not going to get in the way of. It's not going to get in the way of my intimacy and my relationship with my wife. It's not going to get in the way of me spending quality time and building a relationship with my son. It's not going to get in the way of my mental health and me taking care of myself. So yes, there's a cost. You're gonna forego some sleep for a period of time. It's gonna be late nights. It's gonna be early mornings. You are maybe gonna forego a significant part of a social life for a period of time where you're not going to be getting together with friends as much. Friends are going to get together, you're not going to be there, you're going to leave maybe gatherings early or something like that. It's probably going to cost you on a financial capacity where you need to be putting money aside, you need to be investing in that business in the early stages. And so a lot of the financial resources are going into that startup business. So there is a cost, so hear me on that. I'm not saying that it doesn't come with a cost. It does come with a cost, but we need to be mindful. We need to be able to draw boundary lines to know that we're not going to cross this threshold. It's not going to get to the point where consistently every single night I get home when my family is already sleeping, that I don't get to put my son to bed, that I don't go to bed with my wife. She always wakes up in the morning and I'm here. She doesn't know what time I got home. Like certain things that they're not going to be negotiable for me. For example, for me, I'm a man of faith. Sundays, I'm gathering with the church. And so my wife and I sat down and agreed, no matter where this business takes us, whatever we're building, we will always find ourselves with the church on a Sunday. Regardless of where we are in the world, what we're doing, Sundays are non-negotiable. We're going to gather with the church. We've made that agreement. And so that's what I'm saying. And that's, if there's anything you want to take away from this episode, is in us, being passionate and having this desire, and we're building something, we're moving in a certain direction, we are pioneering, we're trying to achieve something. Let us be very intentional that we're doing it in a healthy way. We're approaching it in a way that's really going to give us longevity. It's going to maintain health. We're not going to burn bridges. We're going to maintain the friendships around us. We're going to, as we grow and as we become successful, hopefully we are bringing other people along as well and making others successful as well, and not taking away from others, not using others as stepping stones, and not destroying our own personal lives in the process. And so that's all I wanted to share in this episode. I hope that it was insightful and that there was something for you to take away from it. And until next time, please be intentional about the man you're becoming, because the man you're becoming is better than the man that you are today.